if you are struggling emotionally, mentally, maybe spiritually, this is a very difficult time in our life. I'm so excited to be talking to this next author. She wrote the book, The Therapist, Stories About Parenting, Narcissists, Combat, Abuse, and Marriage. Kathlyn White, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Kathlyn, what was the initial reason you wrote this book? What's the general message?
I wrote this book because it's a book that came from my heart. I have over 30 years of stories that my patients have told me,
Mm.
and I hold them dear to my heart and my life. And I wanted to educate the public on the struggles that people have with their mental health.
Mm.
And so many people, approximately 25% of the population, has diagnosed mental health problems. And there
Wow.
are so many more who just don't speak up and don't get help.
Well, there's a stigma.
There
People
is.
sometimes, especially as believers, there might be, well, your faith isn't strong enough, and that's just not it, right?
No, that's not it. It's mostly a chemical imbalance or a situational problem or genetic. ADHD is genetic, bipolar is genetic.
Mm.
Um, and we have even alcoholism is genetic. So I talk about all of these issues in my book, and it's very personal, the stories about what people are struggling with. And
Mm.
people will cry and people will relate and people will understand how their neighbor is feeling.
Mm. Kathy, I was just
Yes.
going to say that it might not be even something that we're going through, but it might be somebody that we work with. It may be a sibling. It might be a parent, something that your children's friends going through. What are some of the signs for us to look at and say they may be experiencing some things that are going deeper than we see?
Yes. Well, sometimes you can look at the face of a person and that's called their affect. And you can see, oh, they look depressed or they look some people are just stoic, but they're really depressed. You can see it in their face, you can see it in their eyes, but um, fatigue is a number one symptom of depression, and people don't realize that because we're all stressed,
Mhm.
but some of us are so fatigued we can't get out of bed on the weekends, and
Right.
that's depression.
Mm. It's interesting because there seem to be, according to your book, 2 specific categories of people that are a little bit more prone to, is it depression or wanting to end their lives? Can you talk about those 2 categories?
Well, if someone wants to end their lives, they are most likely depressed. Or if they want to act out violently, that is often untreated depression too.
Mm.
So family members can be depressed, especially adolescents can hide it very well by staying in their rooms, playing on their
Mm.
phones or computers, calling their friends, and then suddenly um, a friend calls a mother and says, "Hey, so and so wants to end their life," and then the family can intervene. But
Mm.
that happens a lot.
And how about, veterans?
Veterans are often depressed.
Mm.
Almost every veteran is depressed
Wow.
and needs help. So I see a lot of veterans, and if they've been in combat, that is obviously a factor. But lots of
Sure.
female veterans have been sexually abused, and sexual abuse, whether they're veterans or children,
Mm.
that always causes depression.
Mm.
It changes their life.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that you have so many stories in here because nothing penetrates your heart and makes you connect like a story from someone else. You can be told the information, but when it's relayed in a story, it softens your heart and it's just so much more engaging.
Yes. So, and that's why I tell the stories.
Mhm.
So friends and neighbors can better understand the
Mm.
struggles. Yes, these are stories that no one would dare tell their neighbor.
Sure.
These are secrets.
Yeah, yeah.
They're ashamed, but we want to erase the shame from our culture, and people need to open their hearts to those who are struggling with mental health problems and encourage them to get help, because most people can be treated successfully. As it's 90% of people will have a positive outcome from medication and therapy combined. That is the best type of treatment.
Mm. What should we be looking for? I mean, I think that we're all kind of afraid to overstep. When do we speak up? Where are we getting past the line of appropriate and what's not enough?
Mm-hmm. Well, with kids, we always need to really be on top of things, because kids can flip very easily,
Right.
and they are impulsive. They can do things. They can run away. They can be using drugs. So if there's any doubt, you should know your child
Mm,
and have good communication with them. And my parenting chapter talks about how to have good communication with your child,
mm,
and it should be respectful and deep, and they should know us as well as us knowing them. Families need to be closer. They're too busy. They need to take the time with their
mm,
children. And neighbors or coworkers can be depressed if you can kind of pick up on that. If they're crying, they may go into the bathroom to cry. They may be having marriage problems. Their husband may have a drinking problem, or the wife may have a drinking problem. um, if you really, really look closely at people's lives, you can see the signs, but they're clues. You have to be a little bit of a detective and be interested in what's happening to other people.
I think we're often so focused because we're just trying to survive through the day to get enough
We
sleep
are. We're
financially and pay the
Yeah.
bills. And, I think that's really wise to be others focused and
Yes.
be aware of your surroundings, be perceptive of other people's feelings. So, let me ask you this, if let's just take a scenario. 2 parents at a child's event, sitting on the bleachers, having a conversation, and let's say one mom is showing some signs of deep depression that concerns the other mom that's having that conversation. What are the proper steps for that one woman to take? What should she say or do?
Mm. What's going on with you is a good question.
Okay.
Are you okay? Are you crying? What's going on in your marriage? I'm here to help. Let me hold your hand and help you get help, would be a good thing to say.
Wow. Wow.
We need to really relate to other people. We're closed off. We're too busy.
Yeah,
We just need to, open our eyes and see what's around us. And it can be very rewarding to help someone.
sure.
But you have to be careful. You're not the therapist. You
Right.
have to help them get to a therapist.
That makes a lot of sense. Maybe bringing down walls would be something good, like, I've been there.
Oh,
Boy,
yes.
when I was depressed after I had my first child, I went to
Oh,
see a
yes.
therapist. So maybe bringing that's boy, those are good terms.
Mm.
Those are good
Hmm.
opening ways.
Self-disclosure is always a non-threatening way
Right.
to get closer to someone. Hey, I struggled with this last year. I got medication. I'm feeling so much better
Mm,
now. My relationship with my husband is better. And let me help you find a doctor or therapist, because people don't know what to do, and they really don't know the signs of depression.
right.
And my book talks about that, how to know if you're depressed.
Mhm.
And then there's anxiety. People are having panic attacks.
Right.
um, COVID has made people afraid, of getting sick, afraid to go places. It's isolated people. And it's really done a number on our population as far as mental health goes.
Absolutely. One of the things that you stress is be aware, but be kind. It's awful easy to get snappy with someone that you're frustrated with, but you just don't know what they're going through, and your book spends some time talking about that, being kind.
Being kind, absolutely, and get them a copy of the book. Let
Yes.
them see themselves in the book, and then I believe they would get help, just from
Mm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes family doesn't wanna hear you need help, but if you give them a book, that's something that they will be willing to listen to, because
Yes.
you're reading from an expert now, you know? I changed your diaper, you're not an expert, but,
That's
but a
right.
therapist of a book can help.
Absolutely. I can say things to people that their family has told them over and over again, and when I say it, they're like, "Oh,
Right.
yeah, I can do that."
And then we're like, "I've been telling you!" Yeah, it doesn't
That's
matter though.
exactly right.
The important thing, it doesn't matter who's right or how they get the help, it's that they get the help that they need.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
life-saving
Yeah.
because it's not just life itself, it's quality of life.
Wow.
Depression and anxiety steals our quality of life.
Yes. Absolutely. Do you have any final thoughts? Unfortunately, the interview is kinda wrapping up here.
Okay. Well, I hope my book brings insight into depression, anxiety, PTSD, and how our combat veterans have suffered.
Mm,
If you are a combat veteran, read this book, read these stories. It will help you cry and get through your pain
yeah.
by hearing other stories. Um,
And then pass the book on to someone you know that needs help,
Pass
right?
the book
Yeah,
on, gift the book.
yeah.
The book is available on Amazon, and the book is available in Kindle, and it will be coming out as an audiobook in about 6 months.
Wonderful. Thank you
Yes,
so much for joining us, and we know that you're represented by EA Books Publishing. We thank them for having this opportunity to speak with you. It's Kathlyn White, the therapist, stories about parenting, narcissists, combat, abuse, and marriage.
and thank you again.
Thank you.